Cover crops are planted crops that occupy the field during times when the soil would otherwise be without living vegetation. In most of the northern United States, this occurs in late summer or fall after the harvest of a full-season grain or vegetable crop. Cover crops are especially beneficial after corn silage is harvested. The early fall harvest of corn silage allows farmers to select from a wider variety of cover crops than are available after corn grain harvest. In this video, Pennsylvania farmers will tell us how they pay attention to cover crop establishment immediately after silage harvest. They will also discuss the cover crop species that they use either alone or in mixtures.
We're trying to get cover crops planted in September, just simply because we would like to have as much fall growth before the cold temperatures start shutting it down.
One of our employees can keep the planter moving behind the harvester. We get it in as soon as we can because cover crop is more like it's a crop you're growing. It's not just something you just throw out in the field. It's a crop you need to grow to keep, for soil health and for following year for the nutrients for the following corn crop.
As soon as that harvest of the sorghum is done tomorrow, the drill will be in the field planting the rye. That's cover for soybeans for next year. And anytime that we're planting a cover crop, I try to have the seed sitting here ready to go. And as soon as weather permits, the cover's in the ground.
We're doing more and more mixtures all the time. I very rarely plant a single species of anything anymore. Every year, I guess my favorites change because of each year, different circumstances make different ones shine better. One of the more unconventional species that we used first was hairy vetch. And I planted it just by itself, hairy vetch, and I think I was the only person in Franklin County had hairy vetch, and everybody was wondering what in the world was growing out there. But since we grew the hairy vetch at one time, I'm comfortable putting it in a mix, putting it with a grass of some type, an oats or a triticale, or actually I want to try it with ryegrass here this coming year. I did not try it with ryegrass yet. So I'm real excited about hairy vetch. That gives you a lot of nitrogen. The fall growth is really slow, and then when it warms up in the spring, and stuff just takes off, and it'll get waist high before you know it. And they tell me it'll make in excess of 150 pounds of N. So that I like hairy vetch in mixes. One of our favorites would be crimson clover. It's simple to grow, it's cheap to grow. 10 pounds of it is plenty per acre, and that stuff usually grows pretty nice in the fall and gets a 6 or 8 inch cover on the field, and then in the spring it takes off as well, like vetch does, and just explodes.
Field we're standing in now is ryegrass, triticale, and crimson clover. We're figuring on taking it off as a forage next spring and come back in with corn next spring after we take it off. Some of our other fields that we're not figuring on forage is just ryegrass and clover. We didn't worry about triticale. We just put the triticale in hopefully for more tonnage for next year.
We have noticed that with the cereal rye, it's a very good at capturing any excess nitrogen that was maybe left over from the previous corn crop. We note that nitrogen accumulation in the rye just simply by the color. If we've not had the rainfall to utilize the nitrogen through the corn crop, we'll see a darker green rye, and so it's a very good nutrient sink. Rye has a very proliferous fibrous root, so that it goes, it'll go down to maybe 10, 12 inches with just numerous fibrous roots that do a great job of conditioning the soil and breaking up these compacted tracks where we've run manure trucks through and heavy harvesting equipment.
Well, I've tried an oats and rye, cereal rye, and I did that for a couple reasons. I wanted to establish an early growth in the fall and have some of that die off and have a green crop continue, and the oats does die off, but if you get it very thick, it's hard on your crop you want to winter, whether it be annual ryegrass or whether it be cereal rye. So you got to keep the oats on the thin side. I like crimson clover with the annual ryegrass. I've tried some radishes with that. I have a little trouble getting the radishes seeded. If I put them in with the annual ryegrass, they'll gather up and come down in bunches because the seed is heavier and bigger, and I don't get an even distribution. So I backed off on the radishes just because of getting that mixture through my drill. I put the crimson clover in the small seed box and the annual ryegrass or the cereal rye in the big grain box, and that's been mainly what I've tried so far.
We do use oats as a cover crop on some fields, and those are fields that we plan on rotating to alfalfa in the spring. The oats will generally winter kill in January and February, and so that we don't have to come back and spray it in the spring. If we get it planted in September, we get a lot of fall growth, and it does a good job of conditioning the soil. And by springtime, planting time, if that's late March, early April, the oats have really broke down to the point where they're not a problem.
Use bin run wheat because it's easy to get a hold of, and doesn't really cost a whole lot to get it. Now, if there's something better and within reasonable price, we probably would look at something like that. But we've been having very good luck with using wheat as a cover crop after like the middle of September.
I generally always put a couple pounds of tillage radish in my small grains if they're seeded in August, that they got time to do something out there. Generally, I always put a couple pounds of tillage radish in. I want to start putting probably a little bit of crimson clover in what I seed after the sorghum, if it's not too late to do that. See, the thing we're faced with here, putting winter grain into alfalfa, we already have an established leg yield. So I'm not so sure it pays to put crimson clover, say, into the alfalfa. So the diversity would really stem from maybe annual ryegrass or something, but we don't really need the annual ryegrass. So it would be something that would enhance the forage production and quality, and I haven't really explored that yet. There's always something out there in the horizon we're thinking about.
No, we did plant ryegrass before with wheat. We had like a bushel of wheat and just put on 10 pounds of ryegrass. We just heard about the aggressive root system of ryegrass, and that's what we was going after. But I said, it's in the last couple of years we've noticed a lot more difference in our ground from the benefit of either one. Mostly, like I said, ryegrass is something we shoot for in early in the year, for planting early in the fall. When you use the rye, we planted it second week of November, and it hardly grew at all during the winter. Come spring, it grew, and when I was there planting corn, where the skips were in the field, there were weeds. Where the rye was growing, there was no weeds, and we only maybe stuck down like 30 pounds of rye to the acre on that, and it did that much. It got about knee high till we sprayed it off and killed it, but there was no weeds growing where the rye was at.
Yes, and with these here cover crops, we're always going to be interested in looking at other options. You know, for instance, we looked at triticale this year. We looked at annual rye, and now with the forage radishes and brassicas, the clovers, and those kind of combinations that are coming along. Some of those brassicas and clovers, you know, might have an enhancement of nitrogen or maybe some other fertilizer or nutrient elements that we're not capturing with our cereal rye. So we're definitely going to keep all of our options on the table and consider other options. Cereal rye, it's hard to beat. This year, I noticed that Greg Roth at Penn State's looking at a hybrid rye, and that's going to be a consideration in the future.